Thank you for joining Living on the Tube and trying to figure it all out. Today we're going to talk about being a financial role model. I hope that I'm a role model for all of you, and I hope that you're getting something out of these videos. I know I watch a ton of YouTube videos, and that's what got me the idea to start one up, so that I can get ideas from other people, put them into practice, and share how some of those ideas worked for me. Sometimes also I have different ideas than some people, and I share those with you guys. So today I'm talking about am I a financial role model? Did I teach my kids? I have two children. I currently have an 18-year-old, who will be 19 next month, and a 12-year-old. Now I taught them both at different times, different things about money and how to go about. My 19-year-old was working full-time from about, I'd say probably September or August of 2016 until pretty much January. She decided to cut back on her hours so that she can go to school part-time, which I thought was a wonderful idea. She's just taking a few classes so that she can have some work. When she was working full-time, she couldn't take any classes. She was finding and that she was really missing out on doing the things she used to do when she was in high school. That transition from high school to post-secondary sometimes is very difficult, especially if you don't think the classes that are available to you are necessary. And you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Post-secondary is always important. It is important, depending on what you want to do. My daughter wants to be an actress, and she was looking at going to university for some 4-degree programs. 4 years. I'm tired. I'm going to be drinking my coffee, if you don't mind. Anyways, much better. She wanted to take a 4-year degree program. And when we went and interviewed these universities, they all said you could not work while in school. And we're like, what? These were public universities. So through the public system, provincial universities and, and a couple of colleges as well. And all of them said you cannot work. Now, isn't the point of going to school is to find work? Just saying. Now, again, if you're going to be a scientist or a doctor or a dentist or I don't know what, but you need schooling and you need to finish schooling to be able to work. But acting, you're going to school so that you can work. So if you find work while you're in school, you cannot miss school, which makes no sense to me. So while she was in high school, she was continuously auditioning and getting parts or roles. And so to not do that in post-secondary kind of threw her for a loop. So she had to take a few months off and think about it and decide what she wanted to do. And so she decided to go with a private school, which is totally fine, and take classes instead of a full program. Now these schools, these private schools do sell or do have college programs, 2-year college diploma programs, and which is interesting. And they are fine if you miss classes because you got to roll somewhere, which is also interesting. Lauren, my oldest, wasn't ready for that, I don't think. And so right now she's just taking some classes while she's working and saving up. So that's awesome. We did talk when she was young. She was 12, I think, when she got her first cell phone. And she had begged me for probably a year, maybe 2 years before about getting a cell phone. And I had said, no, no, no. Why do you need a cell phone? I drive you everywhere. I'm with you or another adult's with you. There's always an adult with you. There's ever a time you're not with an adult. We'll talk about it. So by the time she was 12, she started joining some sport teams and stuff at school. And at that particular school, they didn't let you use the phone, which I thought was very interesting. They had a payphone inside the school in the main entranceway. And you had to have 35 cents. I guess payphones have gone up in price. You had to have 35 cents to make a call home. So there was a couple of times where I didn't know that a practice had been rescheduled or canceled. I'm thinking I'm picking her up at 4 o'clock. She's thinking I have to get home. So not having those 35 cents, even though I know for a fact I gave her some money, but I guess I only gave her a quarter because I thought that's what payphones were. So she walked all the way home, and it's about it was an hour walk to get home. And I'm out shopping doing my errands, and I get to the school at 4 o'clock wondering where is she and where are all the other parents. So then I go up to the school and it's locked up, and I don't know where my daughter is. Finally get a call from my husband saying, where the heck are you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's not even in town, by the way. He's out of town. He's like, Lauren just called me. She's at home. Where are you? And I'm like, what? No, I'm at the school. And so After 2 times of that, we decided, yeah, it's time to get you a phone. So I offered to pay for the phone. Here, a lot of the times you have to pay to get a cheaper monthly rate. You have to pay in full for the phone. To get a more expensive monthly rate, you don't pay for the phone and you pay monthly towards the phone. So what I did was I paid the $100 or $600 or whatever it was for the phone. I honestly don't remember anymore because it was a few years ago. And she paid the monthly rate. And you're like, how did she do that? Well, she does have an allowance. My allowance is not giving money nilly-willy. If you don't do the work, you don't get paid. So she would get paid. And she had to save up her money so that she could pay for her phone. Her phone bill was $25, and at one point she brought it down to $20 by bringing down the talk minutes, because teenagers don't talk on their phones, they just text. Go figure. So anyways, she brought it down to $20. Now that she's much older, and she actually added a data plan. She didn't even have a data plan in the beginning. She just used Wi-Fi. So now she has a data plan, but she doesn't use it all the time because there is Wi-Fi almost everywhere you go. And we also got her a nice phone, whereas in the beginning, I got her a cheaper phone, and I'm glad I did because we replaced it 3 times. Yes, I said it 3 times because it broke. Because she was careless with her backpack. She would just chuck her backpack at home and the phone would break. So, but I'm glad because you know what? She was the only one of all her friends who paid for her own phone. She was also the only one who was most careful with her own phone. I know I said it, she just chucked her bag, but her phone lasted the longest. Her other friends were always getting brand new phones constantly, and she didn't. So that taught you something, shows you that I did teach her something about the value of a dollar. The other thing is now that she, once she got out of high school, I said to her, we need to talk about, and I had talked to her briefly during her allowance time, but she didn't listen. I would say she wasn't listening. And I talked to her about having 3 jars, one for saving, one for fun money, and one for giving. And the savings, she had to have a long-term savings goal. So whether it was brand new shoes, that's going to cost her $200, or I think she ended up saving that money for her flute. She wanted a hold, like instead of buttons, it's actually got holes, so your fingers cover the holes. Flute, I can't remember what it's called. I'm not a flute player, can you tell? Anyway, so she saved up for that. She paid 2/3 of it, and as a birthday gift / Christmas gift, we pay the rest, the remainder of it. So now though, she is actually taking her envelopes, because she knows we do this at home, and she divided up what was going to be her bus fare money, meal money, entertainment money, so going out with friends like bowling or to the movies or something. So that was separate from her meal money. I can't remember what other categories, but she made up her own categories, and she decided this is what I was going to do. And she's also saving money into a savings account to help pay for school. Now, we have said we would help pay for school. We may not always pay in full. So the class, she just joined a class recently, and that was $800. She pays me rent. I said to her, this month, you're not going to pay me rent. I'll pay the $600, and you're going to use that $200 rent money towards the fees for school. And she was fine with it. So I know she has $3,000 saved in those few months that she's been working. She's already saved up $3,000 in her savings account. And I said to her, you know, what are you saving for? She doesn't even know what she's saving for, which is kind of nice. I guess there's no time period of when she's going to spend that money, which is kind of nice as well. So I think I do teach my kids about savings. About my youngest, who's 12 now, I've been trying to convince her to get a cell phone. She does not want to get a cell phone. I said, we don't have to get one with data. We can just get one with just text, not even talk on it. I'm still murder now. Why did I think kids talked with my oldest? I will never know. But she doesn't want to spend any of her money, which is hilarious. She's actually very, very fun. She's quick to get me to buy something, but if it's her own money, that girl hangs on to that money. She actually has a savings account, and I make her put half or sometimes more than half of any birthday or Christmas money into this account. She had over $1,000 saved up. So just before Christmas, I moved all that money into a long-term savings account for the next 6 years so that she'll get higher interest. It's actually supposed to be 5% instead of 0.2%. So we'll see how that goes at the end of the 6 years. By the time she graduates, there should be a lot of money. But she was depressed because every time she looked at her bank account, there was only like 75 cents left in the account. So she kept saying, I stole her money. I stole her money. And I think she'll be pleasantly surprised when she hits graduation time and there's all this money that will go right back into her account. She has a thing, she doesn't believe in banks. the mind of a 12-year-old, I don't understand anymore. But she thinks she wants that particular bill. So if you give her this $20 bill that looks exactly like this with this serial number, she wants that bill back when she comes back to the bank to take it out. And we're trying to explain to her that's not how banks work. But you need to put it in the bank so that you do get that 0.2% interest, because otherwise sitting under your mattress or wherever she's got it hidden in her room, it's not gaining any interest at all. And she's not spending it, so she might as well have put it in there. But yeah, so that's where we are with the 12-year-old. We do talk to the 12-year-old about having money for fun money and money for savings, which is supposed to go into the bank account. And so she's supposed to have a jar, and every once in a while we'll go into the bank and deposit it. And for a while, actually all summer and before the summer, I'm not sure how long, she was saving up until she had a 50, not a bill. When she had $50, we would go into her bank and deposit that money. So that's gone wayward because I stole her money. So yeah, we'll see what happens now with her savings. I think she's putting it in a jar again in her room and hiding it, which we need to talk to her about. I want to talk about what my parents used to do and how I learned to save money. Now, I'm still learning. 41 years old and I'm still learning, and I have a lot of debt. So obviously I didn't do it right the first time or along the way. I'm catching up now. And I hope that my kids learn from my mistake. And I keep telling them, don't use credit card, don't use credit card. But in our society, it's very difficult. For instance, my daughter's college classes, she could have paid online if she had a credit card. She doesn't have a credit card. I told her she could pay me. I could put it on my credit card and then pay on my credit card right away. And she didn't like that idea. And so it is difficult to go without a credit card. I did not cut out my credit card after I paid it off. And the reason being is because there are times you need it. For instance, my youngest daughter, she's in a musical theater program and we already paid in full in cash. And I was lucky that when we bought the shoes, we were able to pay in full in cash for the shoes. But now, because the production is coming up very soon, we need to buy a bodysuit, leotards, makeup, all of that. And they're saying to pay online. Well, I don't want to pay online. If my camera starts to shake, sorry, my cat is wrapping himself around it and I just want to get him off so that he doesn't wreck my video. Oh, sorry. So sometimes it is, you know, necessary to have that credit card. Also, when you book a hotel, everywhere I've gone, they don't take the debit Visa card. They will only take a real Visa, and I don't know why that is. I try to do my online purchasing through my debit Visa card, but I try not to do as much online shopping. That was during Christmas, and that was only a month ago, right? So, but yeah, my parents, what they did is they actually did the envelope system before it was cool to do the envelope system. What they did was they didn't have it categorized. I'm not sure how much. I don't remember. But when I was little, my parents would go into the bank every payday, I guess pay their bills. This is before online or anything, and take out a sum amount. So I'm assuming $200. I really have no clue because I don't know. When I was a teenager, we never talked about money. And when I was little, I remember going to the bank with my mother. And I remember her every time we went groceries or every time I needed to buy clothes or anytime we needed new shoes because I wore through my shoes. Mom would go into her envelope, grab some cash, and then we would go off shopping. And I remember there was a couple times there wasn't enough cash. There would only be a $20 bill or maybe only a $40 bill to go buy clothes. That's not a whole, well, back then actually $40 you did buy quite a bit of clothes, but you couldn't buy clothes and shoes, possibly, right? So I remember, you know, she would look and she's like, well, you have to wait till next week because that's when I get paid and then we'll go out. So they did do the envelope system. Now, you know, fast forward over 30 years, my parents have many credit cards. They never had credit cards when I was a kid. I don't ever remember my parents pulling out a credit card. Of course, back then there was no debit. You had a bank card, but you had to use it at your bank. There was no debit charges. So it's funny looking back in my teenage years. I remember my parents using a credit card. I also remember, actually my parents still to this day only buy cars when they can pay in full in cash, so, or a certified check from the bank. The difference is now though, both my parents are retired. The last car that they purchased, my father was retired, my mother wasn't, and they decided to start buying used. They had always bought a brand new car, and I had convinced them it's not worth buying a brand new car. I've always knew this since high school that you shouldn't buy a brand new car. Out of the 5 cars I've owned, only 1 was brand new just because we wanted to go through the experience, and we loved it quite honestly. But when you buy a used car through a lot, You get the same experience you do when you buy a brand new one, minus the loans, minus the headaches. We paid in cash. So that's probably the difference. But yeah, now my parents, I guess because of their budgeting has gone wayward, I don't even know why, but they do use credit cards, but they pay off their credit cards every month. And mom does online banking. Pretty interesting for a grandma, but yes, she does online banking. She pays her bills off in full every month, and then whatever's left in the bank, she uses her debit card. So, you know, fast forward 30 years, they're using technology more, and that's probably why they're using the debit cards instead of having an envelope with cash. I've gone the other way, and I've decided to start using cash. I've gone backwards, which has been better for my bank account, which has been better for my debt repayment plan, and just all around better. Last point that I want to make is how my in-laws taught my husband. Now, when I was a kid, I wasn't really taught about money. It was very faux pas to talk about money, and my husband still thinks it's bad to talk about money. Sorry, hon, if you're watching this. But my husband, when he was a kid, he wanted to get a paper route. Wanted one really, really bad. And so his father said, sure, you can get a paper route. And he got paid. I don't know what the amount would have been back in the 80s. He got a paper route, but he never, ever saw the money. The money went straight into a savings account for him. His parents had opened a savings account when he was a very small child. And he never got to see the money. So even though he got to do all the hard work, he never got to see the money. So by the time, you know, I come along, we get married, and he never spent a dime almost on anything himself. His parents dressed him, or paid for his clothes. They didn't dress him, but they paid for his clothes and his shoes and whatever else. That by the time I came along, and he had a hold of his own money finally, he kind of just went a little stir crazy. And this is the opposite between us. I'm the one who's the money clencher, and he's the one who's the spender. I can spend money, but I will spend it differently than he does, which is funny. And that's just our personalities. Now, I'm not going to say that it was wrong of his parents to do that. They were trying to do the best that they knew. They thought that was the best way, is to save, save, save. And that is the older generation, like Dave Ramsey says, save money like your grandmother did, or to do with money, be financial like your grandmother did. And that was the thinking, was to save, save, save. You don't need to work hard necessarily, but you need to save every money. And it is, again, all about spending less than you make. And that's what we all have to remember. So I'm going to say, yes, I am a financial role model. Are you a financial role model? What do you do? And how do you spread the word or share with others, friends, siblings, anybody, about how to be financially smarter than we are? Because I find our generation, we're terrible with money. And I'm not the only one. Thanks again for joining Living on the Cheap. Please subscribe down below. Talk to you soon.